Ahoy there, my mateys! Welcome to the Cotswold Canals. My name's Angus Phillips, and today I'm going to be taking you on a journey along the Stroud Water Navigation, a section of the canals which was built between 1775 and 1779. But the first scheme came about for the canal in 1720. Well, why did it take so long to be built? Let's go find out. I'm now meeting with Jill Field, who's going to tell me a little bit more about the history of this great canal. Jill, hello.
Hi Angus.
How are you?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. May I come aboard? Why do you think the Stroud Water then would have been so beneficial to the area? The first people who went, right, we need a new method now of getting more supplies into Stroud for all the mills.
Right. Well, back in the late 1700s, Stroud was really coming into its own. There were hundreds of mills in Stroud. The population was exploding as well. There were two very heavy commodities, I suppose you might call it, that were required in Stroud. Corn, simply to feed the people, and coal to fire the mills, but also to make hot water to shrink the cloth, because the wool industry was so important in Stroud. So those are two very heavy commodities. The easiest way back in those days was to transport those items by water, although you've got to appreciate that canal mania was taking place throughout the UK, throughout England and Wales.
In the late 18th century?
It would have been the late 18th century, that's right, all over the country. And as each canal was built, it inspired the next area, and the people with the money wanted to invest, and they wanted to invest in canals. And generally speaking, the Stroud Water Navigation, the people who were the benefactors, or the people who put their money into the Stroud Water Navigation, were local people.
That's lovely to hear. Well, we're coming to the end of our route now. I'm really looking forward to now journeying down this canal and finding out all about the history of it. And just to say thank you very much for giving me a little shortcut. You know?
I wish you well, perhaps on foot.
Bless you. Well, thank you, Jill. It's lovely
Thank you
to
very
meet
much.
Thank you. That's one way to cool off. The first two schemes for the canal were both abolished before work had even started, because the mill owners in Stroud were against the original canal idea. So I've come to Dunkirk Mill because I want to find out more about the mill's produce and why they were so against the first canal schemes. The mills in Stroud, what was their main type of cloth they were producing?
They were producing woolen cloth, and at various times it could be quite cheap material or it could be very expensive. There was a market for both.
How did the mills used to get their goods delivered to them before the canal?
By pack horse, effectively. Everything had to come that way. Now that was fine for wool, you can put a lot on a horse. But when you started to need coal, that's much heavier and it becomes very expensive.
How come some of the mill owners were against the original canal schemes, considering they need the goods delivered to their mills?
They were happy with the roads. They were worried by the idea that the canal would take the water away from them. I think in the long run they were proved wrong. But everyone likes to have control over their source of water.
I then went up the road to Giggs Mill, where I was given a demonstration on one of the hand looms. It's crazy to think how much work went into a piece of cloth. Today, cloth is predominantly mass-produced by machines, but in the 18th century it was these looms manned by hard workers who produced the cloth for the people. I think I'll leave it to these guys.
We're coming up to my favourite section on the canal, the ocean. It's simply beautiful. Oh, look at this! The third scheme came about in 1754, and it was to use cranes instead of locks, so the water levels wouldn't be affected. Hopefully this time the mill owners will be on board.
The scheme was granted and construction made its way through to Stonehouse. However, for the third time, the canal was abandoned in 1763 after trouble with transport costs.
The canal would have seen a lot of professional use in its time, but let's not forget about the recreational side of things. There are tales of children swimming, playing, even kayaking along the canal. I would love to kayak here. Yay.
By 1774, the canal was needed so bad that locals gathered to support the scheme for a new cut of canal. Of course, there was no trouble in raising the money required, and work finally began in 1776. The Stroudwater Canal was completed in 1779, and for many years was in high use and extremely successful, becoming the most profitable canal in southern England.
Alas, all good things must come to an end. The dawn of the railway saw the canal's use decline until it was officially abandoned in 1954 by Act of Parliament.
So what does the future hold for this once great canal? I'm meeting with Clive Field of the Cotswold Canals Trust to find out what's in store for the Stroudwater navigation.
When was the first sign locals started seeing interest in restoring the canal?
The real impetus came in 1972. A couple named Mike and Beryl Ayland, who lived near Seoul. They would walk along the Stroud Canal, as they called it in that stage, to find out about locks, because they knew they'd be working them on the holiday. But what they found was a scene of dereliction and decay. Beryl will tell the story that Mike moaned all the way along, and she said to him, "Don't moan about it, do something about it." And on that very day, they went to Stroud subscription rooms and booked a room. The sub-rooms came onto them and said, "We've got too many inquirers here, you're going to need a bigger room." And they actually moved to the main ballroom, the main room in the subscription rooms. And that filled up with, I think, 320 odd people on that night. They formed the charitable body that night, or decided that was the way to go, and here we are today.
And what does the future hold for the Stroudwater navigation?
We see it as, yes, it's going to be a safe corridor, it's an environmental corridor, and it is a place where our heritage is so easily seen, touched and used. That's a good thing. So the future is for the people, and they're already enjoying it. They're telling us they're enjoying it, and we know that from the number of people that visit us here, our visitor centre.
And about the bidding that's being put in place, what are the plans for the recent restoration?
Yes,
projects?
well, we're here. People sometimes say, "Well, didn't you start at one end and just work through like then when they built it?" They didn't do that then. They did it then where they could get hold of the land. We're pretty much doing the same here. We'll connect Seoul Junction, and that means to say with the rest of the 2,000 odd miles of waterways in this country, to Stroud. That 4 miles we've got to contend with a railway to go under. We've got to go under a motorway. We've got to build a mile of new canal because of what the motorway stole from us years ago. And that's a £15 million bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund. And our fingers are crossed, and hopefully on the 19th of April 2016 we shall know that we've got that.
So there we have it. With any luck, this canal will be navigable once again, and a new piece of its history will be made. But until then, don't be scared to chuck on your walking boots and enjoy this beautiful piece of history. I'll see you there.
We're just one big family, and it's our God-forsaken